What's up, nail geeks? Today I have a nail art loaded swatch video for you guys. These are 3 creams from Picture Polish, and I've got nail art for all 3 separately as well as together. So let's get to the swatches. First up is Tiffany. This is a lovely Tiffany blue cream with a lovely powdery undertone to it, in my opinion. So because I am using all 3 polishes for nail art in this video, I also wanted to show you guys application because, well, we got to see application to see how they wear by themselves as well. So overall, this one has a really nice feel on application. I would suggest 2 coats for this one. The self-leveling is very strong in it. It has a really lovely feel on application. So it's very smooth, very easy to apply. I will note that on my first coat that you're seeing on the video, I did go in a little bit lighter. Of course, if you go in heavier, you'll definitely see opacity a lot faster. But personally, I like to go in with really smooth creams like this with 2 thin coats, and you'll see lovely self-leveling, very forgiving formula. It does dry down semi-glossy, so I would recommend any top coat and you'll be just fine. Now for this one, I really like that base color, and I thought a marble mani would look great with it. Marble as in like the stone. So when I do manis like this, it is a bit of a pain in the butt. I do want to note there are other ways to do this. I personally prefer to do it in water. I feel like it gives me more control over the design that I'm going to have on my nail. So I'm using a silver, just an old silver chrome polish, and then I'm spraying just regular old diluted alcohol in water. Now, sometimes if the polish itself that you're doing this with sticks like that, I just break it up with a Q-tip and then I apply overall. So once again, this is kind of like a water marble, but you are more in control of what's going on your nail, and the more abstract, the better. So I started off with silver and then sprayed with alcohol, and now I'm going in with black. This is Dark Night from Funky Fingers, and I'm just letting it spread through the water overall. Then I spray it with the alcohol and it just kind of breaks it up, and it looks really messy in the water. You just break up the design and you can pick where you're going to have your design overall. So like I said, I feel like this is probably one of the more difficult ways to do this type of manicure, but personally, I just feel like it gives me more control. So on this one, I went in very thick on my top coat. You got to remember that any type of nail art, you really want to be careful because you did all that work and you don't want to smear your design. So I will always bust out my really old, really gloopy top coats for nail art. So I'm just kind of using my glossy top coat to seal everything in. And then I felt like for this look, a matte top coat would be best. So I matted it and it really popped overall. So definitely it's one of those more abstract designs. Personally, I would also recommend whenever you water marble, regardless of whether you're doing something like this or a traditional water marble, I have found that room temperature filtered water is the best to really get those polishes to spread on the water. So just things I've learned along the way that I personally have found to really help me out. So I think this one's a lot more easier, especially because you're not looking for that perfect design. And next we have Candy. This is a bubblegum pink in my opinion. It's very, very rich, though it does have just a touch of that really springy, almost pastel color to it. It's not a pastel, however, it just has that light and airy feeling to it. So once again, I'm showing you guys application for Candy. Really nice overall. I was very impressed with all 3 creams, to be honest. They self-leveled wonderfully, were very forgiving, and I really feel like all of them could easily be worn at 2 coats. So overall, I had no staining issues with them either. Very, very nice, very easy to use, and they all dried down just semi-glossy overall. Here on that second coat, I really feel like you get an idea of how strong the self-leveling is. So really beautiful, buttery smooth formulas. They feel medium to light on application, but just overall easy peasy. So with this one, I kind of took the candy theme and ran with it and went a little crazy with it, to be honest. So here I'm using a Moyu London plate. This is from their cookbook collection. This is plate 9 if you're curious. I really went and just went nuts with it, to be honest. So I'm going in with a white polish. This is Funky Fingers Gesso if you're curious, which is the white. And I'm going in with that ice cream stamp, and I'm showing you guys the actual advanced stamping. My pinky and my index finger with just regular stamped, and then I'm using Tiffany for the ice cream, as I love mint ice cream. So just filling it in. I'm using a dotting tool for this one, as I wanted to just kind of gently drag the polish through the stamp, just so I don't disrupt it, because while you're doing this, that stamp dries down really, really fast, and it will peel up very fast. So you'll want to use a dotting tool if you do this method, just to drag it, and you're not really touching the stamp, if that makes sense. So the way I do it, some people will finish off with a top coat on the actual stamper, but personally, if you use a jelly stamper, in my opinion, if you apply a top coat to your nail and allow it to get decently tacky, you want it fairly dry, but I wouldn't wait too long after it fully dries down, because you still want it to be just lightly tacky. Then you don't have to put the top coat on your stamp and pull off the decal. You can just apply it straight to your nail and it sticks. So the latex barrier I'm using is from Cuticula. I will link that below for you guys. It is scented, so I thought that was pretty fun overall. I've been using the same bottle for several months now. I did review it for August polish pickup last year, actually. Oh my goodness, it's been a year. And it's lasted me this long. So easy peasy. I think it definitely pulls up very quickly on your cuticle and protects you. I've had very good luck with it overall. So after I cleaned up and I removed my latex, I'm going in with, once again, a gloopy top coat. I don't want to smear anything, because that's very frustrating and very, very annoying. And as you can see here, I kind of mostly just floating that top coat. Even though I trust that it's gloopy and it's not going to smear, I don't want it to smear. So I definitely floated it, and then I finished it off with a matte top coat as well, just because I wanted no glare on my swatches so you can see the nail art. And finally, we have Sorbet. This is a pastel yellow. It's very bright in person, and it has a lovely white undertone to it overall. So just a really nice, definitely reminds me of like a springy type of yellow. So once again, showing you guys the application for how it wears on its own. Really, really nice. I feel like the video is being color accurate for the type of yellow that it is. So you can see that there's definitely a white undertone going on here, and we have really, really nice buildup overall. This also has crazy strong self-leveling. If I went in just a touch thicker, it definitely would have had more coverage, but just given how buttery smooth these are, you can plump them out at 2 thin coats, and it'll give you that really nice rich appearance on your nail overall. For a yellow, this one applies very smooth, as you're seeing here. I had no problems whatsoever. As you can see on this shot right here, I did get just a little bit on my cuticle, and I had no problems removing it. So for this one, I'm doing some more advanced stamping. I really love this plate. I think there's been several looks over the years that I've done with it. This is the Princess Collection plate 13 from Moyu London. I'm going in with a jelly stamper here, and I'm using that swirly design. It is one of my favorite designs. I really like it. You can do all kinds of things with it. So once again, I'm going in with that dotting tool. Now I'm going to fast forward this so you guys aren't having to watch me do this whole thing. I'm using candy for this one, and I'm just allowing the polish to drag on the dotting tool throughout where I want it on the stamp. So when I do stuff like this, it doesn't really matter where you're putting the color, as it's going to come off more like an abstract type of design. Here, I did apply a top coat over Sorbet and allowed it to get really tacky, though not fully dry, and then you can see here going in with the clear stamper, I had no problems getting the stamp to adhere to my nail without making a full-on decal. So I am going to show you guys a little bit of cleanup, as this is probably one of the more thorough nail art videos I've done for you guys. I got this cleanup brush from Baroness X. I've used it for a very long time. I do take care of my brushes and I clean them off and it's lasted me quite some time. So here I'm just, before I remove the latex, now I know I might be in the minority here as I do things a little bit different there, but there is a method to my personal madness. I like to clean up that stamp before I remove the latex. I feel like it gives me a cleaner use of the latex, and as you can see here, I barely have any cleanup to do afterwards. So I know everybody does their nail art differently, but it's just my personal preference for how I do it. And then I did top it off with a glossy top coat to get that lovely stamp to really pop, and I'm good to go. And finally, I'm going in with a gradient on this one, and I'm using all three polishes, Tiffany, Sorbet, and Candy. I am going over this with a just regular dollar store makeup sponge. I've used these sponges for a very, very long time since learning how to do nail art in general and really getting into polishes. I've had no problems with them. I do want to note, I've heard some people have had better success using makeup sponges that they've wet and squeezed out the water. I've never really done that. I found that this works just fine for me. When you're doing a gradient, you want to sponge it onto your nail, and you want to go in a left to right movement as well as an up and down movement to really get those colors to blend overall. That way it gives you a less harsh and more of a softer gradient across the nail. And I'm topping off that gradient with an image from an Uber Chic plate. This is plate 1-03, and I'm using that pretty swirly design again in black with Funky Fingers Dark Night. And this time I'm using a marshmallow stamper, as with Uber Chic plates, I've noticed that their final images, I do have a lot more difficulty getting those to come up on a stamper, though I found with that marshmallow stamper from Lantern and Wren, I don't really have that difficulty on these plates. So just throwing it out, if you've had problems with finer images, definitely recommend a very sticky, very squishy stamper for that. So once again, I am cleaning up. At this point, I feel like the latex had gotten very dry and crusty. So when you're doing stuff like this, I probably should have changed out my latex barrier, but I didn't because I was in a rush to do this video. So otherwise, if you don't, then that latex gets really crusty and hard with the polish. So you'll want to remove the latex before the polish dries down. So once again, I'm going in with a very gloopy, super gloopy top coat. I did smear on this, but I want to note, when you do smear a stamp, depending on how bad it is, you can kind of go backwards with your brush strokes to kind of move that wet polish again. So I hope this video was a little bit informative. It was a little bit rushed, but I feel like that's personally what I like to see. I like straight to the point videos with less talking. So that's hence why I did it. So I'm definitely going to link you guys below to Picture Polish if you are interested in these creams, as well as the Cuticula latex barrier and the other stamping plates that I have if you'd like to see exactly where I got them. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.